You never know if a case is won until the judgment has been passed and the gavel falls. No matter how well you think things are going, push forward. Always give that one piece of evidence. Call the unneeded witness. Present one more fact. Do this until you see in the eyes of everyone in the courtroom that you've won. Then push a little more. In the autopsy report, it states that the cause of death was a single stab wound that pierced the heart. How often are you asked for your personal opinion, Dr. Pricket? Excuse me, let me rephrase that. How often are you asked to remember your past experiences as a witness?
Quite often.
Then let me ask you just a few more questions, if I could. Does this look like a wound made out of anger?
I'm not a criminal psychologist. I wouldn't be able to make that determination.
I'm not asking for a psychological evaluation of the attacker, Doctor. We've both seen crimes of passion and rage. Is that what you see here?
No, that's not what I see here.
Can you explain why?
There's no additional damage beyond the stab wound itself. Usually in a crime that comes from anger, there's surprise. The victim will often fall into the attacker or struggle with them. This causes additional lacerations as the knife moves within the wound.
Most will notice this because on the outside, the damage is minor, but on the inside, it is often more significant.
In your expert opinion, there was no noticeable additional physical trauma that one would normally see in a case of rage or passion?
That is correct.
So, how would you hypothesize a wound like this was created?
This kind of wound would seem to suggest that the murderer stabbed the victim once and immediately withdrew the knife.
I've seen the public transcripts of the previous trial. This never came to light. Can you explain why?
I was never asked.
I just have 2 more questions for you, if you don't mind. First, in an attack like that, where the knife is plunged into the heart between 2 ribs without any extra external or internal damage, only to be withdrawn quickly, would you say that the intention was purely to kill?
In the scenario you describe, the quickest way to kill the victim would have been to withdraw the blade, yes.
Not all wounds to the heart are fatal, most often in cases where the object that has penetrated the heart is not removed. This restricts the flow of blood and slows the rate at which the victim would bleed. By removing the blade after the heart was damaged, the flow of blood was not restricted, and the victim had maybe a few seconds before loss of consciousness and less than a minute before death.
In your expert opinion, would someone with no history of violence of any kind be bailed to inflict a wound described so cleanly?
In my line of work, you learn that anything is possible. But given all the factors, it would seem highly unlikely.
Thank you, Dr. Pricket. You managed to clear up quite a bit. I have nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Very well. Prosecutor?
No questions for this witness, Your Honor.
Do you intend to sit there and watch as you lose this case, Mr. Corsack?
No, of course not, Your Honor. I simply have no questions for this witness.
I understand, but I need you to understand, Mr. Corsack, that you are expected to do your job in this courtroom. Everything in a court has its place, and your place now is to act as state prosecutor. If you cannot do that, you will either step down or I will see to it the review board carefully examines your future in law. Are we clear?
Of course, Your Honor.
Thank you, Dr. Pricket. You may step down. Defense, you may call your next witness.
In accordance with the Advanced Technology Act, Article 30, Paragraph 16, this witness has agreed to appear via holographic imaging since he was unable to appear in person.
Accepted.
I call Mayor Lionheart to the stand.
Am I on? Ah! Miss Hopps, it is a pleasure to see you
Mayor
again.
Lionheart, I appreciate you taking the time to appear in this court, but I will remind you that this is a courtroom and you will have to behave accordingly.
Of course.
Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, or face charges of perjury under the laws of Zootopia?
I do.
It's a pleasure to see you again too, Mr. Mayor. You know the accused Emmett Otterton?
I met with him on one occasion, yes, though I knew who he was before that meeting took place.
And what was the subject of that meeting?
He wanted to discuss ways to improve species relations within Zootopia, specifically relations between predator and prey.
Having spoken with Mr. Otterton himself, it was a little more focused than that. His statement was that the primary subject of the conversation was the reunification of bunnies into Zootopia. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that's right. He believed that relations between all predators and prey in Zootopia were strained because of the Bunny Ban Act, with the broad idea that some prey species with high populations might begin to wonder if they were next.
And what were your impressions of Mr. Otterton during this meeting?
He was very passionate. He had ideas, a lot of ideas of how it could be introduced to the council. Everything from a grand, instant reunification to a gradual work program that would allow those from the Commonwealth to enter the city over time and become citizens again.
Did he ever mention violence as an option?
No, of course not.
At any time during the meeting, was there even a small moment where you believed that Mr. Otterton was capable of using violence to get what he wanted?
Violence of any kind never came into the conversation.
Did the subject of Mrs. Otterton come up?
Pleasantries. I hear you're married, how is your wife, things of that nature.
Could you tell us what your impression was?
He smiled when he answered the question. His whiskers twitched too. Embarrassed, I think. I must have intimidated him at first. The questions caught him by surprise.
Did anything in his reply hint at anger or distrust towards his wife?
Not that I noticed, no.
Do you think Emmett Otterton killed his wife?
Objection, Your Honor. Mayor Lionheart did not take part in the trial that convicted the defendant, nor is he an expert in criminal law. His answer would be irrelevant.
Substain! You will disregard that question, Mayor.
You said you knew Mr. Arton before the meeting took place. Is that correct?
Yes, a lot of the mammals in Zootopia knew who Mr. Otterton was before the unpleasantness. It was one of the reasons I agreed to meet with him personally. As the subject of the meeting would suggest, he was a well-known advocate for peaceful relations between species. He worked for various non-profit charities, volunteered his time to help the needy, spoke about the idea of peaceful protest. He grew so prolific over the years that he gained backing from various groups whose goals coincided with his own.
Would you say everyone liked him?
I would like to believe that most liked him, but no one is loved by everyone.
There were, in fact, multiple factions that detested Mr. Otterton. Open opposition, entire groups of mammals that spoke out against his pacifist methods, and even death threats in response to his ideas about reunification. Someone even tried to fake a love child with a previously unknown female, who mysteriously disappeared shortly after the rumors were proven untrue. Did you know about those?
I was aware, yes.
And through all of that, did he ever change his ideals? Did he ever lash out, try to incite violence against these groups, approve of those who did?
I've never heard of him doing anything of the sort, no.
So knowing all of this, that he remained a mammal of peace, even under threats and defamation, do you believe that Emmett Otterton was capable of murder?
No, I do not.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate you taking the time to answer my questions today. I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Prosecution, you're witnessed.